It is a surprise to no one that we as Americans are living in very divided times right now. My next guest is looking for ways for different sides to better talk to each other. Mónica Guzmán is the author of a new book called I Never Thought of It That Way: How to Have Fearlessly Curious Conversations in Dangerously Divided Times. I love that title. Mónica joins me now. Good morning and welcome to New Day.
Thank you so much for having me.
That title alone says everything about where we are right now. It is dangerously divided, and it's so sad because we all love our family, our countrymen, and so what do we do? How does the divide in the country make you feel?
Oh my gosh. I mean, and I've talked to a lot of people who feel similarly to me, where it feels like we can't get anything done.
Yeah.
That we are really smart and very creative, all of us together, just, with our different ideas, and yet those ideas can't mix and mingle. Instead, we're dividing ourselves, we're breaking relationships, we're afraid.
Yeah.
We're very, very afraid and very anxious.
It is scary too. I understand that the whole book started actually because of a difference of opinions with your parents.
That's right. So I'm liberal, and I voted for Clinton in 2016 and Biden this last election. And my parents voted for Trump very enthusiastically both times. And I discovered a bit of a party trick here in Seattle where right after the 2016 election, politics would come up. People were anxious, would bring up a headline that really kind of had us, many of us liberals, very confounded. And then I would see the conversation go toward, the people to blame, the people who voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. And people would begin saying these things about Trump voters that, seeing my parents every weekend, loving them to death, I knew were not true.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, my parents are Mexican immigrants who voted for Trump. And that would just stop conversation. And then I would wait and I would see if someone, instead of changing the subject or walking away, might come up and ask me, why? Why did they vote for Trump? And that would begin a really amazing conversation. So yeah, it's curiosity. It's, can we be curious when we are anxious, and how could that help us, help bring us through? Did
people come up and ask you? Were there good? Okay, that gives me hope.
Yeah,
that does give me hope.
More often than I thought, actually, and that was great.
I love that. I've heard that being curious has to do with an understanding that we already have, already kind of knowing something. So do you find that people are naturally curious, though, and others are not? Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is, that people might be moved to ask more?
Well, I do think that people mistake curiosity for a personality trait. Mm-hmm. But in my research, I haven't really been convinced. I don't think that there's that much evidence to show that. Instead, curiosity is a practice. Mm-hmm. It is a muscle that we can exercise, and absolutely everyone is equally capable of exercising it. But here's what activates it. What makes us curious is paying attention to a gap between what we know and what we want to know. There's two things that kill curiosity like nothing else. One is fear. Mm-hmm. You can't wonder about something you think is out to get you. And another is certainty. That's the arch-villain of curiosity. You can't wonder about something you think you already know. If you think you know, you won't think to ask. And unfortunately, a lot of us are very certain we know everything we need to know about what those other people think.
Right. So you mentioned fear. I mean, fear plays a huge factor on every level of this, on how we come to people, on where we're at, and creates that anger. We did a whole show on fear. What do you think it has to do when it comes to blocking that line of conversation?
Oh, gosh. Well, what it does is it makes us put our guard up. It makes us feel threatened. So when we feel threatened, we're thinking about surviving. We're thinking about winning. We're thinking about the group that we belong to and how we're going to feel like we're preserving ourselves. The last thing we want to do is open our minds and listen to the other person if we think they're a threat.
Okay. So I have a question for you, because let's put this to practical use. There is a lot of debate, I know, in my family and every family, between mask usage and vaccinations. How do we start a curious conversation around that?
Right. Well, with things like COVID and the vaccine, it's a fascinating issue for understanding how tough issues, all tough issues, especially political ones, put good values into tension with each other. So I often hear people say, I can't talk to the other side because they don't share my values. But actually they do. They just stack them in a different order for different issues. So for example, with things like mandates and masks, one sort of motto on the right that I've been hearing is, you stay safe, I'll stay free. Right? So that shows you the values being put into tension. The value of safety and security, health, but also the value of freedom and being able to make our own choices.
Right.
And nobody is against freedom.
No.
Nobody is against safety or health or security. It's just about each person's path, each person's experience. They look at the level of risk right now with COVID, and they just come down in a different place. And so for some people, freedom is right at the top. For some people, safety and security is right at the top, and they're willing to give up some freedom. So everyone's going to be different, and that's what makes our country beautiful, is that diversity of thought. But can we bring it together? Can we learn from it?
And can we?
Yes. We can, and I know that people think we can't. I know a lot of people who've lost hope, but I also, especially now, I don't know what it is, call it spring, call it the fact that we're starting to open up again. There is a sense of renewal. I think we've been through the worst of this.
All right, fingers crossed. Mónica Guzmán, I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much for sharing your book with us. Thank you for sharing your insight. And you can catch Mónica tonight at 7:30 at Town Hall in Seattle in conversation with David Horsey. We've got ticket info on New Day's website.